Hey everyone, welcome back to Rocky Watches Movies. Today we're infiltrating the world of spies with the 1983 James Bond adventure, Octopussy. From its high-stakes action to its exotic locations, this film delivered all the thrills and glamour we've come to expect from the 007 series. But how much do you really know about the making of this installment? So roll your loaded backgammon dice and prepare for 20 things you never knew about Octopussy. Roger Moore initially signed a 3-film contract when he took on the role of James Bond for 1973's Live and Let Die. After fulfilling this agreement, he negotiated his contracts on a film-by-film basis. During the negotiations for both Moonraker and For Your Eyes Only, there was uncertainty about whether Moore would reprise the role. By the time production began on what would become the 13th Bond film, it seemed increasingly unlikely that he would return, prompting the search for a potential replacement. Ian Ogilvy, who like Moore had portrayed the Saint Simon Templar on TV, was seriously considered for the role of Bond, though he was never formally offered the part. Similarly, Timothy Dalton was also considered, but not approached at this stage. James Brolin, however, did some screen tests and was offered the role. Brolin even went as far as securing a house in London in preparation for the Octopussy shoot. However, when it emerged that Kevin McClory was developing a rival Bond production to mark the film series' 20th anniversary, complete with Sean Connery returning as Bond, the producers urgently reconnected with Moore. They ultimately persuaded him to sign a lucrative 2-film deal, leaving Brolin unceremoniously dropped from the project. Moore agreed to return as James Bond for a reported $4 million salary, plus a percentage of the film's box office gross. The film's title is drawn from Ian Fleming's 1966 short story collection, Octopussy and the Living Daylights, though the plot is original. It does, however, feature a scene inspired by Fleming's short story, The Property of a Lady. Additionally, elements of the short story Octopussy are woven into the title character's backstory and are recounted by her in the film. On a trip in India when location scouting, the plane production designer Peter Lamont was on got hijacked by a terrorist armed with a gun and a grenade. After being diverted and then sat on the tarmac for 12 hours, the pilot eventually overpowered the hijacker before he fell out of the plane and was shot and killed. Maud Adams took on the role of Octopussy, though the producers were initially hesitant to cast her due to her previous appearance as Andrea Anders, Scaramanga's mistress in The Man with the Golden Gun. Several other actresses were considered for the role first, including Faye Dunaway, who was deemed too expensive, and Barbara Carrera, who later claimed she declined the part to star in the rival Bond film Never Say Never Again. In the end, it was Cubby Broccoli who insisted on casting Swedish-born Maud Adams. To align with the original concept, they planned to darken her hair and tweaked her backstory to suggest she had been raised by an Indian family. However, this idea was later abandoned in favour of a different plotline, which instead portrayed Octopussy's British father as a disgraced gem-smuggling traitor. Octopussy is the last Bond film to reveal the title of the next movie in its end credits, teasing From a View to a Kill. This title, of course, was later changed to A View to a Kill right before filming began. Roger Moore and Maud Adams, who had starred in The Man with the Golden Gun together, truly formed a close friendship. During the production of Octopussy, Moore was diagnosed with heart problems and seriously contemplated quitting the film due to his health. However, Adams took it upon herself to seek a second opinion from her then-boyfriend, a doctor, who reassured Moore with a clean bill of health, allowing him to continue with the production. Various unused ideas from previous Bond films were revisited or reworked for Octopussy. One such idea was the Acrostar microjet, which had initially been intended for Bond's escape from Hugo Drax's Amazonian lair in Moonraker. The circus and the knife-throwing twins, Mishka and Grishka, were also featured in early drafts of Moonraker. And the backgammon game between Bond and Kamal Khan was originally written for The Spy Who Loved Me. The media-coined Battle of the Bonds took place in 1983. After agreeing not to produce a rival Bond film for 10 years following Thunderball in 1965, Kevin McClory attempted to make his own Bond film in 1975. However, Eon Productions repeatedly blocked his efforts to protect their own franchise. Eventually, McClory was restricted to remaking Thunderball, for which he had the rights to, and enlisted former Bond actor Sean Connery to star in the film, which was retitled Never Say Never Again, a nod to Connery's earlier declaration that he would never play Bond again. Ultimately, Octopussy grossed over $187 million at the box office against a $27 million budget, while Never Say Never Again earned around $160 million, albeit with a higher budget of $36 million. So Octopussy came out on top. If you're enjoying the video, a subscribe to the channel would be like outsmarting Kamal Khan, utterly satisfying. Davis Cup star Vijay Amritraj was the first actor cast. His character not only shares his first name, but is also the tennis pro at Kamal Khan's club. During the tuk-tuk chase, he wields his tennis racket as a weapon, with sound effects mimicking a tennis ball being struck and onlookers turning their heads left to right, resembling spectators at a tennis match. However, his role faced a challenge when it was discovered that he was not a member of British Equity or the Screen Actors Guild. As a backup, Albert Moses was cast as head of Station 1 to step into Vijay's role if necessary. When Vijay was finally cleared to proceed, his lines were divided between him and Moses. Christina Wayborn as Magda bids James Bond a romantic au revoir with an elegant and dramatic escape through a window. Impressively, Wayborn performed this stunt herself, gracefully descending to the ground as her dress unwound to support her, allowing her to land safely. The sequence was filmed across 2 locations. Her descent from the balcony was shot at Pinewood Studios in England, while her landing was captured on location in India. Although Wayborn descended gracefully to the ground, she didn't leave the Octopussy shoot unscathed. During the filming of the attack on the Monsoon Palace by Octopussy's circus, she broke several toes in her foot. Also, stuntman Martin Grace, Roger Moore's double for the train scenes, suffered a serious accident on the second day of filming. While clinging to the side of the moving train, it unexpectedly entered an unassessed section of track, and Grace hit a concrete post with iron railings. He ended up in hospital for months with a broken hip, leg, pelvis and arm. Thankfully, he made a full recovery. And also, the actor portraying the assassin wielding the buzzsaw yo-yo broke his arm during a stunt. The injury occurred when he fell from a balcony onto Octopussy's bed. Despite his arm being in a cast, he was determined to complete the remainder of his scenes. The second unit filmed the scenes showcasing the fight between James Bond and Kamal Khan's henchman, Gobinder, atop Khan's Beechcraft airplane. It was packed with explosives for the scene in which it crashes, killing Kamal Khan. There are a couple of versions of how this went down. One is that when the second unit sent the plane plunging over a cliff with a mannequin at the controls, it veered off course, circled widely over a freeway, and performed a flawless crash landing. The other is that the film crew forgot to turn on the cameras during the scene, so the plane blew up for nothing. Either way, the stunt was ruined, and in the final movie, that scene shows a model trick created using miniatures at Pinewood Studios. Miss Penelope Smallbone was created as someone who could take over from Lois Maxwell's Miss Moneypenny when she eventually retired from the franchise. She was portrayed by Michaela Clavel, daughter of author, screenwriter and director James Clavel. During filming, Lois Maxwell mistakenly introduced her character as Penelope Smallbush, prompting Roger Moore to quip, "We know where your mind has been, Moneypenny." Both Penelope Smallbone and Q's assistant, Smithers, played by Jeremy Bulloch, were eventually cut from A View to a Kill due to budget constraints. Cubby Broccoli instructed longtime Bond composer John Barry that Octopussy could not be used in the film's title song due to its controversial connotations. Instead, Barry worked with lyricist Tim Rice to create an original song, All Time High. Rice initially wanted Elaine Paige to sing the theme, but Barry and Cubby considered inviting Dame Shirley Bassey back for a 4th Bond outing. Ultimately, though, Barbara Broccoli suggested Rita Coolidge, whose rendition of the song reached number 75 in the UK charts and number 36 in the US. It remains the lowest charting Bond theme in the UK. Octopussy takes a different approach by featuring a chase with auto rickshaws or tuk-tuks, steering away from gadget-laden vehicles. 6 tuk-tuks were customised to ensure they could reach speeds of 70 miles per hour before being shipped overseas for filming. The challenges of managing the locals in Udaipur became evident when a cyclist unexpectedly rode between the tuk-tuk taxi carrying Bond and Vijay and the jeep transporting Gobinda's men, completely unaware of the action around him. This unscheduled stunt was kept in the final film. The Fabergé egg featured in the film is the Imperial Coronation Egg, designed by Peter Carl Fabergé in 1897 to commemorate the 1896 coronation of Tsar Nicholas II. The intricately jewelled egg contains a miniature model of a coronation coach. Contrary to some reports, the egg is obviously a replica created by renowned jewellers Aspreys of London. Maharana Bhagwan Singh Mawar enthusiastically welcomed Octopussy to Udaipur, the city of sunrise, granting access to his palaces for filming. The Shiv Niwas Palace became James Bond's hotel, the Taj Lake Palace served as Octopussy's floating headquarters, and the Monsoon Palace was Kamal Khan's base. The stars were also accommodated at the Lake Palace Hotel and Jagmandir Palace. The Maharana and his son hosted parties for the cast and crew and even lent a stuffed tiger for Kamal Khan's hunting scenes, which later featured on Pinewood Studios' Monsoon Palace set before being returned. Octopussy remains cherished in Udaipur, where many locals know Sir Roger Moore as the quintessential James Bond. This is the first movie to feature Robert Brown as M. It is unknown as to whether Brown is supposed to be playing the same character as Bernard Lee, Sir Miles Messervy, or a different one, possibly a promoted Admiral Hargreaves from The Spy Who Loved Me, as the films did not establish until GoldenEye that M is a title, something which Ian Fleming left ambiguous in the novels. Octopussy's extravagant barge was constructed from 2 matching Indian vessels by the film's Indian construction manager, Mr. Dixit, and yes, that was his real name. Boatmaster Mike Turk taught the actresses playing Octopussy's girls how to row, while the gallery mistress aboard the vessel was voice dubbed by horror scream queen Ingrid Pitt. The barge also makes a memorable appearance in the film's closing shot. This was captured more by chance than design, as the light was fading and the crew rushed to capture footage of the barge sailing into the distance for the film's end titles. And there you have it, folks. You now know a little bit more about Octopussy. If you enjoyed the video, which I presume you did as you got this far, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos coming to Rocky Watches Movies. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.